Hello everyone, it is April. I hope that you guys are enjoying Everyday August. Today is part 2 of recommending spooky, creepy books to some of my favorite booktubers. I will link in the description box below part 1 where I recommended 5 books to 5 booktubers, all of them creepy in one way or another. We've got 4 more booktubers today that I want to recommend some spooky books to. Let's dive right in. We're starting with the lovely, the wonderful Jen Campbell. I have read so many brilliant books because of Jen. She reads and writes poetry. She reads and writes a lot of fiction, literary fiction. And she is very interested in fairy tales. If you don't know, she has a whole series on her channel all about the origins of fairy tales. She's very fascinated by them. I wanted to recommend a horror book to her that has some fairy tale inspiration in a major way. This is The Changeling by Victor LaValle. The Changeling follows a Black man in America. I think they live in New York, the Bronx, something along those lines. He falls in love with this woman. They get married and they have a baby together. And at some point, something shifts within his wife. He thinks it's postpartum depression, and she does something really, really awful, really, really horrendous, hard to read. I will warn you, Jen. He is entirely devastated, and his wife flees, and he is trying to track her down. First of all, the writing in this book I thought was incredible. It reminded me a lot of the writing in An American Marriage. I don't know if you've read that, Jen. I feel like you have. It's just really gorgeous literary fiction quality writing. And then there's this fairy tale Rumpelstiltskin element like trickling throughout the book. And I thought it was really, really a fun read in the end. Hard to read at the beginning. I will say I think the first half was better than the second half, but that said, I thought it was great. And knowing how much you enjoy fairy tales, Jen, I think this is a really good combination. Fairy tales meets horror together. You get The Changeling. Next is Katie from Chapter Stacks. Katie hasn't been putting as many videos out on Booktube as of late, but she still comes out with some like once every 2 weeks-ish, sometimes once every 3 weeks, and I watch every single one because I love Katie so much. Katie was one of the first booktubers that I found. She reads a lot of horror, a lot of thrillers, and I just really love her. I went looking through her past videos about things that I know she will like in books, and she mentioned in a video some of the things that just work for her, some of the tropes in horror that she just really enjoys. And she said that she loves a good ghost story, and she also loves things surrounding the basement. And I wanted to recommend a bit of a graphic novel kind of book to her. This is Thornhill by Pam Smythe. First of all, or Smee? I'm not sure. So this book has diary entries as well as these gorgeous, gorgeous images as well. In this book, you go backwards and forwards in time. You meet a girl in present day. Her story is told in these images. She moves into a house with her dad after her mom has sadly passed away. And her house and her room in particular looks out onto Thornhill, which is an abandoned, big, huge home. And it used to be a home for girls. And she starts to see a figure on the grounds of Thornhill and starts to investigate. Very ghosty, very wonderful. Then you go backwards in time to these diary entries of a girl living at Thornhill and being very much disturbed and attacked and bullied in a heinous kind of way by one of the girls at the school. So those passages take place in the 80s. And there is a scene in here, not of a basement, but of a cellar kind of thing that she becomes trapped in. And it was very claustrophobic. She herself lives in an attic. So it really plays with place. And it was really creepy, honestly. It was so creepy, Katie. So I hope that you will read Thornhill and really enjoy it. Next up, we've got Simon from Savage Reads. I absolutely adore Simon. When I think of Simon, obviously I think of literary fiction, but I often think of Gothic literature. Simon's, like, one of his favorite books of all time is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. And he just really is attracted to Gothic fiction. He's also attracted to the Victorian period. And so I think that I have found the perfect book for you, Simon. This is Affinity by Sarah Waters. This is a queer story about a woman who, during Victorian London, during this time, she tries to commit suicide, which is very much frowned upon at this time. And her punishment is essentially to go and volunteer at a women's jail. And this women's jail is notorious for being quite dirty and not taking care of these women. And she meets a quite young woman who was conducting a seance. The reason she's there, she was conducting a seance that went terribly wrong. An older woman died in the middle of the seance, and so she's in jail. And these women have this connection that becomes romantic. And it is really dark. It is incredibly dark. And this relationship between the women is so very interesting. I read this many, many moons ago, and I think it's high time for me to reread this. I really hope that you will love this, Simon. So that's Affinity by Sarah Waters. Last but not least, I've got Acacia from the Chaotic Little Book Corner. Acacia reads so many books. Like, this girl flies through her books. It's incredible. She reads literary fiction. She reads dystopian books. She reads thrillers, horror. Like, she has just this wide variety of interest. And she also really speaks to mental health issues on her channel. I really, really love her honesty about her own experience. In any case, I know that she really enjoyed reading Bird Box, and I wanted to find a book that would be kind of similar to that, the unsettling feeling that Bird Box left me. So I think I have found a literary fiction version of that. It's called Leave the World Behind. It's very much a dystopian, is it dystopian or is it apocalyptic? Probably more apocalyptic. And this follows a family who are leaving New York. They live in New York, but they're trying to get away. They've got like 2 teenagers. They need to get away. So they leave just outside of the city and go and stay in this home. They're renting a little cottage. It's perfect. It's just what they need to unplug. Unfortunately for them, something very strange happens in the world. I can't remember if it was a flash of light or something very strange. Everyone knows that things have dramatically shifted in the world. And a couple land on their doorstep and they ask to enter because this is their actual home. They actually own this cottage and they saw this thing happen. It's either they saw something or they heard some sort of big boom and they got scared and decided, well, let's just get out of the city and go where we know is safe. We know we'll be fine. So these 2 families end up living side by side amidst a time where you just don't know what's going on outside. Similar to Bird Box in that way, that claustrophobia, that fear of leaving the home, fear of what is going on outside. I felt really nervous reading this. There's also really, like, you don't get a lot of answers. And I know we don't get a lot of answers in Bird Box either, so I know that you'd be good with that. But I thought it was incredible. Really, really weird. Weird, disturbing. I loved it. I hope that you will love it too, Acacia. And those are all of the books that I wanted to recommend to some booktubers. Let me know in the comments below what creepy, weird, nerve-wracking book that you would suggest to me. I would love to know, and I will chat with you very soon. Bye, guys.